16. So there's no training montage again, still no training, still poorly. On antibiotics now, so definitely the right side of it now. But I thought I'd shoot some nice B-roll footage of Bristol. Yesterday morning was an amazing day in Bristol, so here's a few shots of some things that I did yesterday.
Cause you don't need your weapons now. You gotta hold on to your word. Hey, just stop and put your weapons down. You gotta hold on to your word. This fading word.
Ahead of its time, hope that you know it's past its prime in so many ways. Here's a miserable rock, stuck like a foot at the end of a sock full of razor blades.
So of course now that I'm feeling a bit better, I'm starting to think about how I'm going to get back into training, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to go about easing myself back into it, because if I start going back in, well, I won't be able to go back in at the same kind of level that I was at 3 or 4 weeks ago. That's going to be too hard work really to be able to manage that. So how am I going to deal with this setback? Oh man, such a massive setback. It looks like I'm kind of back to square one. It's kind of back to the drawing board really. You know, back to the drawing board, eh? I've been pretty positive about this whole process. I've been poorly this side of the season, which is good. But I thought perhaps I'd have a look at some of the more clever thinkers than me about what they've said about both going back to the drawing board and square one and all those kind of things, and see how they reframe it in a more positive light. Also gives me a chance to do some really crap impressions. I'm not talking about Einstein, the dog from Back to the Future. I'm talking about Albert Einstein, the 20th century theoretical physicist who developed the theory of relativity. He wasn't just an incredible scientist, and he was most definitely an incredible scientist. He was also a really very quotable man who said an awful lot of very clever, sensible things. I'm going to do something that isn't very clever or sensible now by trying to do an impression of him. But there's a quote of his that I absolutely love, which is, "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results." I'm regretting that immensely. Can we get around the fact that I sounded like a weird sort of Anglo, French, Irish, Israeli, Cherokee Indian kind of accent, and maybe pretend that I didn't do it, and I'll rethink that next time I have to do any impressions. I just won't do it. I do repeat stuff in terms of doing things over and over again the same way and expecting different results. Something I definitely need to have a look at. In the past, I lost a great deal of weight through doing alternate day fasting. It worked really well for me and I felt really great doing it. It doesn't work when I'm training hard. It doesn't equate well. But I'm thinking that maybe when I have my rest days every week, I'm going to go onto a kind of restricted calorie intake on those days and make that a bit of a focus rather than kind of binge eating. Binge eating isn't something that was unusual for my next quote. So Winston Churchill, another very quotable figure and very famous for saying amazingly good things. This is a terrible impression, and I'm going to prove to you that in no way am I like Bradley Wiggins, who is both an incredible cyclist and a very good mimic.
Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts.
I absolutely promise you I will never do any impressions again on any of these videos for the next however many I've got left to do. That's an absolute promise from me to you right now. However, it does kind of highlight this idea of success and failure, and how we look at failure as a negative term, and it genuinely isn't. It's how we learn. We don't actually learn a great deal from success. We learn everything from failure, from doing things wrong and evaluating how we've done them wrong. I think that's why I feel quite positive about this. I can see this as a fresh start, and an opportunity to change the way I was doing things and come at them from a different angle. And I've got a few days to kind of rethink some of my approaches with these things. I'm going to do that, and that's pretty much it for week 16, really. But it does kind of go some way to explain why, even though I'm still not feeling great and I've got a long way to go, I also have a decent amount of time, and it has given me a pretty fresh opportunity to re-look at what I'm doing, come at it from a different angle, maybe try and change things up a little bit over the next few months, and rather than come back and do the same things that I was doing before I was poorly, I'm going to come at it from a different angle perhaps, and just see what happens. Who knows? I'm going to give myself until after the weekend. Over the weekend I'll try and come up with some ideas. Monday, Tuesday, start writing down how I'm going to reintegrate my training back to where I was, but also see if I can come at it from a different angle and use some of my other thoughts and my other thinking to kind of make some improvements. And that's thanks to Einstein and Churchill, who sound like a terrible insurance / solicitors firm. Anyway, see you in week 17. Have a good week. Thanks for all the messages. They do mean a lot to me, actually, and it's really inspiring and give me some really great ideas. Some people on Facebook and YouTube and private messaging and stuff actually sending me some ideas and some inspiration to kind of sending me some ideas and inspiration to kind of help me out and point me in the right direction, and that in itself is helping. So have a good week. I'll see you in week 17.
Baby.